This is an Envoice Media podcast.
He goes, it's your kind of people that we give chances to or something in this country. And,
Yep.
And you wasted your chance.
So you realize freedom it stayed outside.
Yeah, you're like,
when you walk through the door.
You're listening to Criminal Code, our story behind bars.
Welcome to the Criminal Code podcast, where we talk all things prison. I'm your host, Tony, and today we have our brand new co-host, Sonny.
Oh, shoot. How you doing?
He's a man of few words. We're going to get through this because he's got an interesting story. Thanks for coming on today, and looking forward to having you for the next episodes.
Thanks,
and more.
Appreciate it, Tony.
But we always like to get into, really getting to know you a little bit. Not much the legal case per se, but everything from sentencing. We all talked about it, whether it was myself, Sam, Tazo, all the people that are on the Criminal Code cartoon. But we focused more on what sentencing was like for you and the few days before surrendering and then going into that. But kind of open-ended, but
Sure.
Why don't you just get right into it?
Yeah. My first memory of this whole ordeal was getting an envelope in the mail. So we got an envelope in the mail, and we were at the office, and I don't know who opened it first, but someone opened it first and basically said I guess we were charged or indicted?
Indicted.
Yeah, you're indicted, right? The first packet. So we got that letter in the mail, and it was just like, what planet am I living on?
It's not a Christmas card, man.
No. And it was weird because it was already like maybe 2.5 years after that business had already closed. So this was 2.5 years into, this is part of the details, but the government basically shutting our business down because they wouldn't accept our submissions to Medicare and other things. So we closed that business down. We're scrambling, looking for other business ideas, and we're 2.5 years into trying to get anything and everything off the ground. And we got that letter, and so that was the beginning of a 5+ year process.
Yeah.
So
you guys were closed, and then 2.5 years later, all of it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. My company, we were still open. It's still open. Well, I don't own it anymore, but
yeah,
the government kind of took it away. Yeah. But
so 2.5 years in, get that letter, and then for me, probably the worst thing I ever done was get a parking ticket or a speeding ticket. Had no issues with the law or broken the law in any way. And so it was a shock for me, for sure. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. I didn't have a criminal history. I didn't have, I wasn't breaking any rules or any laws. Probably a rule follower.
Oh, no priors.
No.
Okay.
No priors. So from that point forward, I want to say it was like another 2+ year period from getting that letter in the mail to having to go to court and see my judge for the first time and hire a lawyer, go over all the details with him and
Did you fight it at all, or did you go right to saying, "Hey, I'm just going to plea and call it a day"?
No, it was a little bit of going back and forth, but we just had to kind of see what the government was saying that we did, and while there was a ton of stuff in there that was untrue, at that point when they have their eyes on you, it's like, shoot, I gotta.
It's over.
See what I can prove to them that, even half of this document is incorrect. It's to the point where they're saying I did things when I hadn't even met a person, and it's saying that I did things with this person. So it was, even to the degree of saying it's fabricated. It's basically in their eyes, their story. They're trying to piece these things together and make it seem like this is what happened when, just blatant things that weren't even true in there. So that's probably another episode of all the details of that. But so it took about 2.5 years to get to court. And then my court was 1,800 miles away. So
yeah, that's right.
From California all the way over to Louisiana.
Oh, jeez.
So,
I thought I went far.
Yeah, we had to fly over there every time we had a court date.
Went to San Diego.
Or anything. Nice.
I hate San Diego.
I hate Louisiana now.
It's terrible, man.
It's kind of sad. It's because they have good food. But
so every time you had to go, the attorney couldn't handle things for you. You had to go.
They did. So I probably went a handful of times. Yeah. A little less. Yeah. So went over a handful of times. In hindsight, the lawyer that we got, this is probably true of a lot of cases, unless they're going to end up fighting it, they're just pushing papers too. They're just processing papers.
98% of the cases, man.
Honestly, what do you call it? A
public defender.
Public defender would have done the same thing. Yeah. I don't think he would have gotten me anything better.
You could have probably negotiated it yourself.
They might have been more eager and done something. So that happened. And then I guess leading up to, so the whole time, what was crazy was we were under the impression, because of things my lawyer told me, things that were going on in the paperwork, and everything was pointing to me kind of getting a slap on the wrist, like home confinement or community service.
Oh, man. That would have been awesome.
And that's what I was expecting, because number one, I didn't feel like I did anything wrong. All the facts, these was like 10, 12 bullet points of items against me, more than half of them were not even true, and I didn't even know the person at that time, and all these things. So here I am thinking that I'm going to get community service or home confinement at the worst, and that's what my attorney's telling me as well.
Oof.
So when we...
What made that not happen? It's a big expectation. Then you're like, oh, shit, I got to go to prison?
So this is the other part, and, I'm not getting into any details or naming judges or anything like that, although it's all discoverable somewhere. When I stood there in front of our judge, I had friends write me, references and character letters and
all those nice letters.
All those nice letters. Kind of
end up the dog shit for me.
They actually kind of flipped and kicked me in the butt versus helping me, because he was like, his exact words were something like, "It's your kind of people." And when he started with
what do you mean by that?
I didn't know what he was referring to.
Your kind.
Was he referring to Asians? Was he referring to, immigrants? Which was what was he referring to? I don't know what he was referring to.
What did your lawyer say? Your Honor, with all due respect, what are you referring to?
He looked very similar to my judge, so I don't know.
Oh, great. Now you're double fucked.
So he goes, "It's your kind of people that we give chances to or something in this country."
Yeah. Yep.
And you wasted your chance or something like that. Something crazy.
I heard that too.
So he started out with that. So as soon as he started out with that, I knew kind of it wasn't going to go the way I thought it was going to go.
No more home confinement.
Nope. And then so he goes, actually he started, and this my lawyer messed up and screwed me on too. The judge goes 11 months, which was under a year. Yeah. But then my attorney says, can you change it to a year and a day? Because I guess you get good time off.
It's shorter.
But I found out later that if it is under a year, that there are other provisions that allow you to even file to get it off your record, and possibly, I don't know, there's some other benefits of it being under a year. So the change to make it a year and a day to try to get 2 months off is not a benefit in hindsight. And my lawyer didn't tell me any of this, so I researched this later on. But had it been 11 months, like he said, which would have been a month more than a year and a day minus the good time.
Do you know what is that programs that were just available to those under a year?
If you're under a year, it allows you to do. I don't know how to look this up again. I should have researched this, but you get certain benefits, or you're able to file possibly to remove it, I believe. Whereas over a year and a day, it's on your record forever. You obviously all the things,
like
you can't vote.
85% of it.
Do a ton of things.
You can't do nothing. Yeah.
But
no votes, no guns.
Yeah, I forget. There was a couple of big
a lot
benefits.
of countries you can't go to. I mean, list goes on.
Yeah,
and on.
But there were
no pre-check.
Some really big benefit. I remember reading about if it was under a year, which it was at 11. So I should have kept it at that. But the official sentence got changed to a year and a day. And
were you solo at the sentencing hearing, or
no? I was.
Did you have?
Yeah, I had significant other.
Okay.
So and that was worse for them because they were thinking the same thing about home confinement or community service or what have you. So when they said actual time, actual time in the BOP, Federal Bureau of Prisons,
and nothing like that.
It kind of shook us all.
Shook. It's like a sledgehammer.
Thought we were in a twilight zone.
Yeah.
So from that point on, it's like, time's just going by and you're not even alive. Kind of, you don't realize what's going on. And
how long was it?
Just going through the motions.
Your sentencing hearing to when you had to self-surrender.
For me, I think I just tried to do it quick and get it over with. I think that sentencing was like in August.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I went in a month and a half later.
Oh, okay. You went in quick.
September or October, yeah.
Well, after a 2.5 year wait, you're just going to want to hurry up and pretty much get it over with.
So I went in like October, I believe, and then 10 months later.
And then where did you?
So that was the beginning. Yeah. So I ended up at Atwater, California, and there's a federal BOP there.
That's a hybrid, though.
There's a low camp next to a maximum.
Oh,
pen.
geez.
So
I knew you were near a low. I didn't know you were near a max.
The pen was right next door, and they basically used our low camp to do slave work in the pen.
Did you ever have to go into the max?
Oh yeah, all the time. So
those are pieces of work over there, man.
The pen there, they were on lockdown all the time. Actually, right after I got there, and that's a whole story that I'll get into, but they had recently killed a staff member in the pen, so it was on lockdown for a long time or something.
When you got in?
Yeah.
That's a great way to start. You're like, man, I'm going to be here how long now?
Yeah. Here's your welcome.
Murder my first day.
So the camp where I was at was about 120 members, and then the maximum security pen was 1,000 plus.
Ooh.
So they had,
You're outnumbered.
our whole camp going in there to work in their kitchen, make their food and all this stuff every day.
Are you face to face? I mean, like,
no, you can't be.
There's nothing that's blocking you from
that
guy.
They're always behind a door, so they don't let you
with
walk.
The max people.
Yeah, they don't let you
lows.
walk with them.
You can still like the low people.
Correct.
Okay.
So there was it wasn't a private jet, but it was a 10, 12-seater plane. So it looked like a private jet.
What you flew?
So I flew in on a private.
Oh, man.
What looked like a private jet, but it wasn't. It was just a smaller plane.
Yeah.
Because
Con Air.
Atwater.
We were talking diesel therapy is what we
exactly.
called it.
Atwater was not a big airport, but it's actually right next to the BOP. So you fly in and you can see the BOP landing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we take an Uber and a suitcase and an Uber. We take it over there. And we're trying to look around. We don't know where the entrance is. We kind of see this gym barracks looking thing. Find out eventually that that's the low camp. And for whatever reason, the previous warden put barbed wire around it when normally it's open.
No, you're not supposed to.
So they put
Yours had the wire too?
fence and barbed wire around it.
Shit, for a camp?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
We did. And
All right.
get there, and then we're trying to figure out where's the entrance and all that. So I'm sitting there eating, I think it was Carl's Jr. I had a Carl's
Last
Jr.
meal.
Last meal. I had a last meal. I wore a hoodie and sweats, and I think I wore flip-flops on purpose because I didn't want to throw away tennis shoes.
Right. You get them back.
You know. I found out you do later on, but actually it came into the population. My clothes I found them through guys who work in the laundry. But
you saw some dude wearing your.
I saw a guy wearing my sweatshirt later on.
God,
because he got it from a CEO or somebody.
Just like those. I got a pair of jeans just like those.
8 months down the line, it took forever to get to him. But
now you don't want them back.
No, and my flip flops. I remember he had my sweats, and so I found all of it eventually. Made its way through the pen and the max down to the camp where we were through inmates.
So you Ubered in to Atwater.
So I Ubered
with the barbed wire and everything.
I got my meal. I'm literally sitting on the ground in the front of the BOP, Federal Bureau of Prisons in Atwater, and it's a huge watchtower there. And I'm just eating this cheeseburger.
You have no one else with you? Everyone else check? Okay.
Me and my wife. Mm-hmm. And so we're basically having a last picnic on the front entrance to the BOP. And then I think a guard eventually came out and asked us what we were there for, why we were sitting on the front eating a cheeseburger.
I'm a new resident coming in.
And he said, oh, you got to go all the way around to the back, and there's a fence there where they accept
the camp
new guys. No, well, when you go in, they receive you through the pen. So
the max too.
Yeah. So they process you.
They must have been. Hey, those guys must have been assholes.
Yeah, they process you through there, and then they send you back over to the camp. So I finished my meal.
That sucked, right? Yeah, we'll get it. Yeah, you get into that.
I finished my meal. The Uber dropped us off, so we had no car. So I finished my meal. We have a suitcase on wheels that we're pulling behind us down this, paved road, and the workers from the camp, they're kind of walking back and forth. So the time was around 3 when they're getting off work.
Count time almost.
And so we had what was the Unicor. We had a Unicor on our facility, which is a plant where they process all the electronics from federal workers. So you get people. The whole factory is staffed by the camp, and they're processing laptops, cell phones, iPads, any kind of electronics, you name it, TVs, and so microwaves, like even appliances. And they all come into this Unicor plant and get stripped down. Whole nother story of just toxic waste that is being exposed to all the inmates that are working there, but because they're literally taking apart all the magnets and don't know what other chemicals there are inside electronics. But I walked in. I didn't work in there because I worked in the kitchen actually. But you go in there and there's just like it's like black kind of dust everywhere, and they're exposed to that every day. I don't know how many people.
Oh, the BOP doesn't care.
No, they definitely don't.
At all.
So I get to the back fence. I got my suitcase. I say my byes, and CEO takes me in, lets me in the fence, and then so my wife has to walk down this long paved road with her suitcase, crossing by all these inmates that are coming to the camp from the Unicor, and obviously eyeing her, like wondering who the heck she is and who the heck I am, and so she says bye, and then I think we called another Uber to get her back to the airport, and so she's dragging this, in hindsight, down the road. People that I got to know in there told me their perspective of seeing her and seeing me, and they saw this girl walking down the paved road crying, dragging her suitcase down this road and waiting for a car. But it was a funny story when they told it to me later on. And we totally bust out about it now and crack up. And
You couldn't bring the suitcase in?
I couldn't.
Brought it all that way?
I had to leave it with her. I think I took everything off except my T-shirt, my sweats, and my flip-flops, knowing that it would all get taken away. So,
what'd you feel like when that door shut behind you and they told you to? Wasn't that a? That's why that was worse than sentencing for me. I was like, oh man, this is for real.
Yeah, so he takes me in, and so since it's being processed in the pen,
that's what I'm saying. It was probably worse than for you than it was for me.
There were guys, but they were in a locked cell, and I don't know what they were doing, but it was another crowd of people, and you could tell like
they're not yours. Your kind. Remember that?
Man, you could tell like they've done some things in their life.
Those are the
they're
guys,
like,
man.
50 feet over in another room, and it's still locked and stuff. They can't get you, but man, you can't imagine just if you were to be stuck there and go and hang out in their cells and their jails and all that. And so I had to wait. I don't know why, but they stuck me in a holding cell for like 2-3 hours. Do all the intake. I think you had to take like a health test or something.
Yeah, you were in there a while. Were other camp people too, and other lows you were with? The newbies?
Yeah. There might. I don't remember there being too many people coming in at the same time. It's because they don't come in all the time. It's and it's only 120 at the camp, so it's like whenever they come, but it's like you're probably by yourself for the most part. So I'm in there, and I've got like 2-3 hours to just like process what's just happened, and like I'm literally stuck here, and I'm not gonna drive anywhere or fly anywhere that night.
You're going absolutely nowhere,
that
Sonny.
Starts to set in, and then I remember they were passing out lunch for the pen, and they bring this thing, and they gave me one because I was there in a holding cell, and it's a styrofoam to-go container. Canned beans, I think it was.
Wasn't Carl's Jr. that you just had 3 hours before that, huh?
It's like canned vegetables with like the kidney beans, the green beans, and the lima beans.
Hence, you lose 90,000 pounds when you're in the
exactly
when you're in the joint.
Piece of stale cardboard bread. It might have been a salt and pepper pack, and maybe something else that was some kind of meat or something that looked like meat or was supposed to be meat. So I barely touch it because I just ate the burger and leave it there. And then I think they gave me a health test, gave me a bunch of health tests. And then they do the first strip down. So when everything's done, you get stripped down and searched. They have you bend over, they have you cough. with a CO there. He's with you, instructing you all to do all the things. That's a rude awakening
Oh yeah.
for the first time. You're like,
Your realized freedom just it stayed outside.
Yeah, you're
when
like,
you walk through the door.
am I supposed to do that? Are you supposed to stand right there behind me?
He's supposed to stand. They have to do since you were with the Max. Did they have to go body cavity too?
No,
Okay, I didn't know.
mean, just a cough, bend over cough, and he was
Okay.
looking all that.
No extra cough.
No. So then he gives you your jumpsuit or your what do you call them? We were green, I think,
Garbs.
or
Were you green?
wait, were we? We were green at the camp. I think the clothes he gave me originally might have been beige or something. They
Yeah,
might have
'cause
been
I know.
orange.
I
think they were
khaki.
tan. Yeah, they might have been khaki. But it was like drawstring pants that were too long, sandals that didn't even fit, and then a top to go with it. All stuff that didn't fit.
It's a starter outfit.
Yeah.
A couple days in there, you end up.
You see whatever's on the shelf, they throw it to you. Yeah. So I get that stuff, and then finally, a guy drives me or walks me over to the fence where I walked in, and then I find out that barracks-looking thing that looks like a big gym. Basically, is the camp where I'm going to be staying for the next 10 months. So.
Oh, you were in a like a warehouse?
It
no
looked like
private rooms. It was all bunks and stuff like.
Yeah, it looked like one gymnasium.
Oh man!
And they have stacked bunk beds in the shape of a U that go all around this gym. So two beds. It goes all the way down, all the way across, all the way up in the shape of a U. And then in the center of that U are tables and chairs, and then like 3 or 4 TVs. And those are all separated by different races, different cars. Cars is just like a group of your people, like
your group.
Asians would be a car, or blacks would be a car, or
a lot of Asians. Oh, it has to be. No, not has to be, but you're in the California. We hardly had any in West Virginia. So.
Right. No, we had a ton of people from Northern Cal, so a lot of Filipinos from San Jose. Filipinos. There were maybe 2 Koreans, me and one other guy, and then a Chinese guy, maybe.
They didn't assign you to your bunks? Like you guys were allowed to choose, hey, I want to...
No, we got there and then...
these guys, but I want to shut my eyes with these guys and not those guys?
No. So bunks, I think I got assigned, but you get assigned the head of each car, like the guy in charge of the Asian group, gets told that I'm coming, and so he assigns me with another bunkie that's Asian.
Jeez, that's some power.
Yeah, so
inside.
Yeah, so they do have some weight and things that they decide on and pull and stuff like that. So JJ was his name. That's why now he's a good friend of mine. But first day I get in there, he assigns me to a bunkie. So I'm top bunk always when you first get there because you gotta graduate to the bottom bunk. And then
I never wanted the bottom.
No,
I always liked the top.
Oh heck no!
Even when when I was offered, you can have the bottom. I was like, I want the top.
I don't know. I eventually got a bottom bunk, but
it's harder to get to the person at the top.
It was
it's too easy to get to the person at the bottom. You got a fighting chance. And you're at an elevated position, but
I remember the first day walking in. So I walk in, and it's like 4:00. So some guys are off work. Mm-hmm. They're hanging out, just chilling, snacks or whatever. And then this big dude named Julian. I remember he played basketball in college, and I think he was in there for selling stuff on the black web. He was probably selling drugs or something on the black web, and just looked like a regular big dude from college. And I remember seeing him right there. And Andrew, he was Japanese guy with a goatee. He was in there for being a shady DMV guy. He would sell stuff or get you a free license. Or I don't know. He would
The DMV con.
yeah.
Did you get you a fake ID? Or?
He could do a lot of things involved with the DMV, and that's what he did. But I think that on top of like a speeding, he was into souped up cars. Like he would modify cars and all the whole import
Furious.
scene. Yeah,
That guy.
so he had one of those import cars. He was doing all that. I think he got a reckless speeding ticket, and the judge just stuck it to him because he had that and was also doing stuff at DMV. But he was one of the first guys to welcome me in, so I saw him. Eventually met JJ, and probably one of the most memorable things that first weekend. So real quick, the bunk that I'm at, you basically have spotlights like this, but they're can floodlights right above your head, and they don't go off at night at our place. So it's right over your head. You're like this, trying to sleep on the top bunk, and you have this fluorescent floodlight on your head face the whole night. So obviously, guys would make blindfolds. They would make hats and beanies and whatever to cover their eyes and all of that. But that was my first night there, and then that was probably for like the first 2 months. I had to sleep under that.
Did you sleep that first night?
I don't remember. Not well. Probably not well, but
I didn't. That's why I was asking.
yeah.
I was so scared. Yeah, man. You know what I mean? You don't know what to expect.
It was weird. It was so weird, and you're like scared to use the bathroom. You're scared to walk anywhere. You're scared to whatever. But my bunkie below me was a 50-year-old Chinese guy.
Oh man.
And he was super religious, and so he was known for doing this thing. He would basically, at nighttime after roll call, or when they shut the lights off, and do count. So they do count every night, and then they would shut half the lights off, but the dome lights, for whatever security reason, they left on. And that was the thing that a ton of guys had an issue with, and they were trying to get them turned off and whatever, but the CO that was in charge wanted to keep half of them on. But after count and after half the lights went off, Eugene, this guy named Eugene, he would call out to the whole gym, like, good night, to every single name in the camp. So he would say good night, and he would say their name, each of them. He would go down the whole list of 100-some people.
Memory, or did he have a sheet of paper?
No, he had sheets of paper.
Gonna be like, who is this guy, man?
He had sheets of paper, so like the guys would mess around with it, and they would tell him to say different names and like joke around and like give him a hard time or whatever. But then it kind of became just one of those accepted regular things, and so they would let him do it. I think some guys, there were some Mexican guys that didn't like it or whatever, or didn't want their name to be called, stuff like that. But for the most part, it was accepted, and so it would take like...
It took at least 10 minutes.
At least 10, 15 minutes.
You got 100 couple guys in there, a couple long names.
And some guys would yell back, good night.
Some guys yell, shut the...
So, good night, JJ. You go, good night. Good night, Julio. Just go for forever.
That was your first night?
And he's right below my bunk.
What did he say to you?
Good night,
Good
Sonny.
night, fresh fish. Welcome. It's going to be a nightmare.
Oh, my. So I had to endure that for the first, I forget how long I was at that top bunk, but yelling that out every night right below me. And then, so you get, what is it, maybe a foot by 4 feet tall metal locker. Mm-hmm. Kind of looks like a school locker. It's not the tall ones, probably about half of those sizes. So you get that as your personal space. You get your bunk bed, and then that's your personal space. That's your bedroom, basically. Yep. You get that as your personal space. And meals are in the mess hall, but then when you come back, usually most people eat back at the barrack. And so, but that was my welcoming there, and then my part one.
Man. Now, how long before we finish up the get to know Sonny, our new co-host? How long before that night until you think you were comfortable? You're never comfortable.
Yeah.
You almost just get used to it.
Yeah. For 2 weeks in the beginning, I worked in the laundry. And by laundry, I mean, this is where guys go to get their new clothes. If you're getting visit clothes, like they're these like green pressed slacks and the green button down at our place. And anywhere to go to replace any of your laundry needs is where I was working. And that was controlled by the Asian guys, at least when I started there.
You got the good job right away.
Yeah, so, well, Eugene was there, so I just tagged along with him in the beginning until I got assigned. So I was with him for 2 weeks, so that was my intro. So I just tried to get a routine. So I would wake up, go to breakfast, go to the laundry. And the laundry is like, 50 yards away, but it's in its own separate room, and there's a door. And so during that 2 weeks, I just learned how to cut and sew and make clothes. So I was making my own V-necks. I actually kind of perfected it eventually, but there were so many attempts at that. So I was trying to make V-necks. I was trying to hem my pants in because they were so baggy and loose. So I was trying to get them fitted and make them slim. It's like anything to keep you sane in there, So here I am trying to make slim fit khakis, green, slim fit green khakis.
The skinny prison stuff there, man. You know what I mean?
And white V-neck Hanes t-shirts. It was hilarious. I remember there were a couple shirts that when I left, I took them with me, and I worked out in them for like a year or two after I got out.
You brought some stuff home with you?
Yeah, those clothes that I made.
All right, I did too.
That looked good on me.
Just whatever I had to wear. But no, don't get into that. We'll get into that in part 2 of the get to know our new co-host.
Yeah. More like prison life.
Sonny. Yeah, prison life. That'll be the next part, that we'll talk about. But I'm definitely happy to have you sitting in the chair here with me. We're going to have a lot of guests coming on the show. And, for those of you that are watching, if you're in the California area and you can make it out here to our offices and you think you'd be a good fit for this show, come on over. But remember, you have to be indicted to be invited on Criminal Code, where we talk all things prison. Thank you for watching. Thank you again, Sonny, for joining. Happy to have you here. And everyone, have a good day. Thank you.